Welcome, printmakers. It's Professor Mochik again. Today I'm going to show you how to do stencil cut prints. Very simple. You need dry paper. That's the good news. It's relatively easy to do, and that's why we're doing it, because we're working at home the rest of the semester, aren't we? So I cut a rather intricate, nice little file folder to create a design. You have to be careful because you don't want everything falling out. You have to kind of think about, I've got to hold that line in there. And gee, if I'm going to cut it from here, I can't make it too flimsy. So you have to be careful. This one's rather intricate. A lot of times stencils are a little more simple like that. I'll show you that in a little bit. I've done some pre-work on that one. But anyway, I've been dying to see what this one's going to look like. So I'm very excited to proof it in front of you all. So basically, I am, for the sake of me working, I'm going to turn it facing me, and you'll get to see it real soon. I understand that the way I cut it, it goes a certain way, so I have to be sensitive to that. Then what can I do? I can use some brushed watercolor paint. Certainly, if you had ink, you might be able to roll nicely over. But a lot of us don't have ink. We've got watercolors and water-based paints. Not acrylic, it dries too solid like plastic, so it has to be watercolor, and that really works the best. So I have a little bit of black and or brown watercolor here. And you know, Professor Mochik, I do love my black and white. So right now, I'm just going to try and go for a black and white print. I hope you'll excuse me in wanting to do that. And what I'm going to do is take a large brush, I think, that I happen to have. Well, you might have a painting brush around the house. You may not. And I'm going to just grab some paint like this, okay? And I hope I have enough. I may not. And I'm going to just brush right through the stencil. And let's see what is happening here. It's going to move a little bit because, you know, it's a stencil. So there's a little give to the paper. Don't worry about that. That's the fun of experimenting and doing printmaking. So notice I'm not going to go beyond the frame of my cut stencil. I'm going to try and keep it fairly neat. Once I do one stencil, I'm going to pretty much have to take the stencil and blot it off a little bit, the paint, and let it dry. That's how I can reuse it again. I'll clean that in just a little bit in water, but right now I'm just going to peek and see what happened. Hey, not too bad. I'm excited. I've got a little city scene with my little water tower. There's some smears and blurs, but that's part of it. So when it dries, I'm going to be able to deal with it, work back into it, etc. And hey, remember, some of you went home with the actual stencil sheet. Well, you can use that in the same way. Why don't I go back to a print that I already started with this actual file folder stencil that I cut. And I may want to enhance it. The neat thing about stencil printing is you're not confined to the size of the plate. You can go on and create multiple images of this, add on. You can create quite a large piece. And isn't that fantastic? Not confined to a printing press. So I may decide, for goodness sakes, to start using some letters. It's not about what the letters say, right? It's not about that at all. It's more about, let me grab some paint here, some water, some brushes, and remember the Caran d'Ache watercolor sticks? Look I scumbled them dry on a paper plate. Guess what happens to them? Look at that, they turn to watercolor. Of course, you knew that, didn't you? Maybe that's a little too wet, but I'm experimenting. Well, that's too wet, I've learned. So better be careful with the water this time. Get that brush. What's happening there? Maybe this is not exactly what you're looking for. Maybe you want a little more exact. So you might paint a little more opaque paint through something and get a mark like that. That could be quite nice. And I may want to repeat that same, who cares that it's an X, it's an image. And it may be very intricate and sensitive to what I'm trying to create as a more non-objective composition. Maybe I want to take this actual stencil and get it back down and add some other colors that I've already used or not and try to bring that back into the forefront. I'm mixing. I hate to use colors right out of the tube. Nobody wants to do that. Boring, right? I'm going to use parts of my stencil. I don't need to use the whole thing. Maybe that's what I'm trying to do. A little bit lightly so I can see some of what's below. And I'm going to just continue working in this same way. Now, I may want to get some darker areas here and there. So let's see how that would work. Very nice. I may get that little structure, looks like a little building or something. All right, very nice, very nice. Okay, so you see what I'm talking about? There's a lot of development that can happen with stencil. And it doesn't happen in 5 minutes. You may put it aside, let it dry. Go do another thing. Go back, perhaps, while you're letting these things dry and you're cleaning your brush or so, and go back to those actual dry point prints, that you had created, black and white, and you had a print that maybe wasn't so dark or wasn't so perfect, like this one of mine. So then I just hand colored it with some paint, some watercolor paint. Why not? There's a number of students, that's one of my own. And what about something like this, black and white? You've got a print left, here's the print, not quite as good as maybe this one. Hand color it. So don't forget, you can do that. There's so many things to do, and this is just showing you simple stencil printing and other options. Enjoy. I look forward to seeing your work. Bye.